المساجد لله فلا تدعوا مع الله أحد. So the Prophet said, Almighty Allah has given me the vast expanse of the land, masjidan, as a place of salat, wa tahuran, and as a means of purification. What does this mean?
المقدسي الجراحي رحمه الله الصفرة بالله تعالى وبدء التوحيد ووفاة الحديث وبدء وفاة الحديث from this noble book. So inshallah, this evening we shall be reading the number 38 hadith. Al-Hadith al-Thalithu wa Thalathun, hadith number 38. As it is our tradition, we try to explain the book Al-Ahkaam with the book Al-Allāma by Al-Allāma Abdullah bin Abdurrahman bin Salih al-Bassam. So the explanation of this Shaykh, inshallah, is what we use to explain Umdatul Ahkaam. Sometimes we also take some notes from Ahkaam Umdatul Ahkaam by Al-Allamatu Ibn Daqiq Al-Eid rahimahullah. Al-Hadith al-Thaminu wa Thalathun, hadith number 38, is a hadith reported by the Sahabi Jabir bin Abdullah al-Ansari radiyallahu ta'ala anhuma. So the text of the hadith says, and Jabir bin Abdullah al-Ansari radiyallahu ta'ala anhuma أن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم قال أعطيت خمسا لم يعطهن أحد من الأنبياء قبل نصرت بالرعب مسيرة شهر وجعلت لي الأرض مسجدا وطهورا فأيما رجل من أمتي أدركته الصلاة فليصلي وأحلت لي المغانم ولم تحل لأحد قبلي وأعطيت الشفاعة وكان النبي يبعث إلى قومه خاصة وبعثت إلى الناس كافة. This hadith is reported by both Al-Bukhari and Muslim. Now what is the meaning of this hadith? Jabir bin Abdullah al-Ansari rahimahumullah or radiyallahu anhuma, may Allah be pleased with them both. We have once explained or mentioned the biography of Jabir bin Abdullah. And one of the things that I told you about him was that he was that very young Sahabi who married a previously married woman as his first wife. And so the Prophet ﷺ saw him, and the Prophet was a very observant man. Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. He was very observant. He knew his companions inside out. It was his observation, through his observation, that he knew that Abdurrahman bin Auf had married. And he said, did you marry? He said, yes. He said, Awli Mawla Bishat. That was the Prophet ﷺ, very observant. Whenever he sees any of the Sahaba, whenever he sees any changes in them, he notices and notifies them. On this occasion, when Jabir bin Abdullah told him that, Ya Rasulullah, I married, the Prophet asked him, did you marry Bikr or Thayyib? Did you marry a young and previously unmarried woman, or did you marry a woman that was previously married and who was divorced or widowed? And Jabir bin Abdullah replied him saying, Thayyib, I married a previously married woman. So looking at his relatively young age, the Prophet was caught by surprise. A young man is expected naturally to marry a young woman of probably an equal age and who has no previous marriage experience. So he said, why? هلا تزوجت بكرا تلاعبها وتلاعبك. Why didn't you marry a young woman who you shall play with and who shall play with you in return? And Jabir Abdullah said, Ya Rasulullah, when my father Abdullah died, he left 6 of his daughters in my care, talking about his younger siblings, 6 of them, females. And he said, it is now your turn to look after them. Ya Rasulullah, if I had married a young woman, she may not be able to take good care of them. So I decided to sacrifice my own desire for my sisters by marrying a previously married woman who is relatively older than them and who has experience. And the Prophet prayed for him and blessed his marriage. So this is at least one thing we should know about Jabir bin Abdullah, is sacrifice. It takes a strong iman to do this kind of sacrifice. So he said, the Prophet said, 𝐀𝐒𝐃𝐀𝐂 I have been given 5 special gifts. خمسا. These 5 things are part of the khususiyat of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Special gifts that no one was given. In fact, he mentioned, he said, لَمْ يُعْطَهُنَّ أَحَدٌ مِنَ الْأَنْبِيَاءِ قَبْلِ. No prophet that came before me was given any of these 5. None of them. I am the only one Almighty Allah has given these 5 things. And you see, this opening statement alone is enough for us to understand as Muslims that the Prophet ﷺ basharun lakin laysa kal bashar. He is a human being, but not like any other human being. Almighty Allah has given him things that no human being before him was given and no one after him shall be given. And this is why Abu Zayd al-Fazazi, who wrote Al-Ishriniyat, the popular eulogy of Prophet ﷺ, did a lot of praise for Prophet ﷺ, except for some areas where he did Al-Ghulu fil Madh. That book is one of the best books of eulogies concerning Prophet ﷺ. He said about Prophet ﷺ, أفاض الندى فيض وأعمل صعدة فساس بذاك الخلق لينا وشدة فيا حبذا منه لمن شاء أمدة إمام لرسل الله بدأ وعودة به يختم الذكر الجميل ويبدأ صلى الله عليه وسلم. Among some other things that he said about Prophet ﷺ, the Prophet ﷺ is a human being like us, but Almighty Allah has elevated his status beyond that of other human beings. In fact, the man said, لَهُ رُتُبَةٌ فَوْقَ السَّمَاكَيْنِ قَدْ سَمَتْ. Almighty Allah has elevated him beyond even the skies. And this is why as Muslims, we must understand that insulting the Prophet ﷺ is not like insulting any other person, because he is the symbol, the figure of Islam. Any insult to him is an insult to Al-Islam, an insult to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And so while we can take insults for our fathers, somebody insults your father, you say no problem, thank you. We cannot take insult to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. We must protect his personality. Not by taking laws into our hands, not by going extrajudicial, not by killing people without recourse to the law, but by ensuring that whoever insults the Prophet ﷺ is reported to the authorities and the right judgment is taken. Government must take the right steps. So we cannot leave people to say whatever they want about Prophet ﷺ. And we have seen some people today who, because they don't want to look bad in the eyes of the enemies of Islam, would paint the Prophet with such a brush that he forgave everybody. This is a lie. Look at the poem I read earlier. Afadun nada faidun. The Prophet was generous, extremely generous. Wa a'mala sa'adatan. But he also used his sword appropriately. Generous with his wealth, he used his sword whenever the need arises. Fasasa bidhaka li khaliqo linan wa shiddata. He led people with these two qualities, gentility and harshness. As a leader, you have to apply both. Amr ibn al-As wrote to Muawiyah ibn Abi Sufyan. He said, "La yajuzu lana an nasusa an-nasa siyasatan wahida." It is not good for us to use the same politics in leading people. He said, because if we are so harsh on them, they will lose hope. If we are too soft to them, they will become too arrogant. He said, so you be harsh on them, me I will be soft to them, so that we understand both. The Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was, yes, a rahmah lil alamin. He was a mercy, he was forgiving. But there were situations where he also did not forgive certain people. I give an example. Sa'd ibn Abi Waqqas radiyallahu ta'ala anhu reported, Lamma kana yawm fath Makkah, on the day of the conquest of Mecca, أمن رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم الناس جميعا ما عدا امرأتين وأربعة نفر. The Prophet forgave all people. He told them, اذهبوا فأنتم أحرار طلقاء. Go, I'm forgiving you all. He forgave everyone except 6 people. امرأتين, 2 women, وأربعة نفر, and 4 men. One of the 2 women, the name was given as Ummu Ammara also. Their names were not mentioned from the books of Sunnah I've read. But the 4 men, their names were mentioned. Abdullah ibn Khattab, Miqyas ibn Subaba, Ikrima ibn Abi Jahl, wa Abdullah ibn Sa'd ibn Abi Sarh. The Prophet said, "Uqtuluhum walau wajadtumuhum muta'alliqin bi astar al-Kaaba." Kill all of them, even if you find them hanging on the door, on the curtain of the Kaaba. Abdullah ibn Khattab, do you know what he did? Abdullah ibn Khattab, when he heard Prophet was coming to Mecca with his Sahaba, he went out to attack them. He wanted to attack Prophet, even though they were coming peacefully. But he ran away before he was overpowered. Miqyas ibn Subaba, one of the Muslims in Medina, mistakenly killed Miqyas' brother. Mistakenly, khata'an. Miqyas came to Medina to meet Prophet and said, Ya Rasulullah, inni aslamtu, I have become a Muslim, and I have come here, mutalibuka bidiyah. My brother was killed, I'm a Muslim, you have to pay me diya. So Prophet, you know what Allah says, وَمَنْ قَتَلَ مُؤْمِنًا خَطَأً فَتَحْرِيرُ رَقَبَةٍ وَدِيَةٌ مُسَلَّمَةٌ إِلَى أَهْلِهِ. So the Prophet said the killer should pay Miqyas the diya. Miqyas ibn Subaba took the diya, ran back to Mecca and became an apostate. What did he do? He lied to the Prophet that was a Muslim to come and collect diya. Now he didn't stop at that. Before he went back to Mecca, he made sure he killed the man that killed his brother, even after paying diya to him. Ikrima ibn Abi Jahl, you already know who his father was. Abu Jahl, just like his own father, he was the Prophet's staunchest enemy, insulting him at every opportunity. Abdullah ibn Sa'd ibn Abi Sarh, he used to be one of the scribes writing the Quran, writing the Wahy. All of a sudden, he ran back to Mecca and said he has apostated. He now told the Makkans, Muhammad is a liar. I am the one that used to dictate what he claims is the Quran for him. He doesn't receive any wahy. The Prophet ﷺ said, "Uqtuluhum wa in wajadtumuhum muta'alliqina bi astar al-Kaaba." Even if you find them hanging by the curtains of the Kaaba, kill them. Abdullah ibn Khattab was killed. He was found hanging on the curtain of the Kaaba. 𝐀𝐂𝐃 ibn Subaba was killed. He was running in the market. He was killed. So Abdullah ibn Khattab, now, he was killed, right? Bin Hurayth and Ammar ibn Yasir attacked him and killed him. 𝐀𝐂𝐃 ibn Subaba was killed in the market. 𝐀𝐒𝐃 ibn Abi Jahl فَرَكِبَ الْبَحْرَ. He was traveling on
when the boat was about to capsize. So, unfortunately, the sincere did the initial said somebody from this boat is a big sinner. If he doesn't leave this boat, all of that. In the book that the Quran said, لَقِيلِ اللَّهُ أَنْجَانِ الْآخَرَ لَآتِيَنَّ مُحَمَّدًا وَلَآتِيَنَّ بِهِ. If Allah saves me from this calamity, I will go to Muhammad, beg for forgiveness and accept Islam. Or better Allah saves me, most sincere. And he went, begged the Prophet, he got forgiveness and accepted Islam. Abdullah ibn Sa'd ibn Abi Sa'd فَاخْتَبَ عِنْدَ عُثْمَانَ بْنِ عَفَّانَ وَكَانَ أَخَاهُ فِي الْقُرْآنِ. He and Uthman ibn Affan were foster brothers. They were presented by the same woman. He went and lived with Usman. Usman took the Prophet and said, Ya Rasulullah, Abdullah, oh Apostle of Allah, forgive Abdullah and take his very allegiance. The Prophet refused. Usman said again, Ya Rasulullah, Abdullah, forgive him and accept his very allegiance. And he refused. The third time he said, Abdullah, so he accepted his forgiveness and got his prayer of allegiance. He now looked at the Sahaba were sitting around him. He said, I guess I didn't want to Rashid. Is there no one among you that is, let's use the word, a very mild word. What among you that is, I don't want to use, you know, Sahaba, they have, okay, somebody says sharp. He said, no one among you that's sharp at least. يقول إن هذا الرجل لما رأى كفرت يده. One of you should have moved to this man when he saw me, if he to take his prayer and drop his head. Wallahi, I never saw it. One of you should have dropped his head. The Sahaba said, Subhanallah, how would we know what is your heart? You should have given us a sign. He said, it is not permitted for the Prophet of Allah to use heights to deceive, people. So let us know what we are saying, brothers and sisters in Islam. Islam is not a religion of barbarism, a religion of inhumanity. But then Islam is a religion of anyhow rules. Insulting the Prophet has a penalty, and the penalty is capital punishment. And this that I have said is if you want to know, some people think it's a Salah or no. Go and get a copy of the Risala and Parawadi. Risala and Parawadi, it is there. Do you know since when that can read? Do you know? We are talking about it is there. So it is what is in faith. But the judgment has to be passed by the judge. The suspect will give a fair trial to defend himself or herself, and only the judge can execute. So what happened in Sokoto is unfortunate. We condemn any form of insult to the Prophet ﷺ. We will never take that from anyone. But then again, we also condemn the extrajudicial action of the mob. Islam does not support mob action. Islam is a religion of law and order. So inshallah, the Prophet is not like any other human being. he has been given certain privileges, certain qualities beyond what other human being possesses. So he said that he gave 5 things. No prophet before me, from Adam to Isa, none of them possesses these 5 things. Number 1, Nusaytu bi Rabbi Masirata Shahr. Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given me triumphant over my enemies in a distance of a month. Before I arrive at my enemies' places, they will already be overwhelmed with fear and trepidation. If the prophets were going to Lagos to meet his enemies there, maybe Lagos is the place where they are agreeing for the battle. And let's say Lagos to Ilorin is a journey of 1 month. The enemies will already be shitting in their pants. It is all the signs of the war. They will be afraid, they will be scared. In fact, many of them are already some of us. He said, number 2, what today allowed Masjid al-Qawr, the entire expanse of the land, Almighty Allah has made it for me a place of prostration, a place of worship. The Arabic word masjid has 2 meanings from its root word. Masjid ismu makan. Masjid ismu ahli. Ismu makan, name of the place. Ay makan yusjad fihi lillah. A place where people go to prostrate before Allah. Now, it is called masjid, a place of prostration. Even though prostration is not the only thing we do in Salah, it is known in Arabic language as tasmiyatul kull bi ismi al-ba'd. Using a name, a part to name the entire object. So sujood is just one of the things on Salah. We do qiyam, qira'ah, ruku', tashahhud. But sujood, the Arabic word sajada was taken from it to represent the entire thing. So masjid means a place where we go to prostrate. In other words, a place we go to pray. Masjid also means the limbs with which we prostrate before Allah. And this is why the ulama of tafsir have interpreted the ayah in Surah Al-Jinn, وَأَنَّ الْمَسَاجِدَ لِلَّهِ فَلَا تَدْعُوا مَعَ اللَّهِ أَحَدًا, in 2 ways. وَأَنَّ الْمَسَاجِدَ لِلَّهِ, the mosques are for Allah, they are the houses of Allah. Al-Masajid al-Lillah, the limbs with which we prostrate belong to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The Prophet said, Umirtu an asjuda ala sab'ati a'athumin. I have been commanded to prostrate on 7 bones. 7 bones. What are those 7 bones? The 2 palms, 2. The 2 knees, 4. The 2 feet, the 2 foot, 6. The forehead, 7. These are known as the limbs of sujood. These limbs must not be used to venerate anyone. And this is why in Islam it is not permitted that when you are greeting someone, especially as it is known in Yoruba, to prostrate before that person. If you go to the Ooni of Ife, for example, or the Olubadan of Ibadan, or the Oba of Oyo, you see how people greet them. They will almost place their foreheads on the ground. وَأَنَّ الْمَسَاجِدَ لِلَّهِ فَلَا تَدْعُوا مَعَ اللَّهِ أَحَدًا. So the Prophet said, Almighty Allah has given me the vast expanse of the land, masjidan, as a place of salat, wa tahuran, and as a means of purification. What does this mean? It means that the salat of a Muslim does not have to be in a designated area for salat. The Muslim can pray anywhere. Anywhere. If you were on a journey and it was time for salat, tell the driver, stop, I want to pray. Perform ablution by the roadside, pray there. Because the vast expanse of the land is for the Muslims as what? Masjid. Pray anywhere. So long as that place is neat. Pray anywhere. You can pray on top of the ceiling if you like, if that's the only place available. It doesn't have to be in fact, if the only place available is on top of this table, you can pray there. Stand there and pray. It doesn't have to be in the masjid, if that is the available place. And then number two, tahuran. Tahuru here refers to tayammum. Tayammum. Because Allah says in the Quran, أو جاء أحد منكم من الغائط أو لامستم النساء فلم تجدوا ماء فتيمموا صعيدا طيبا. If there is no water for ablution, and we have discussed tayammum in one of our classes, and I told you the conditions of tayammum. If there is no water for ablution, for instance, there is no water in Al-Hikmah University, and if you want to wait until water is brought from outside, the time for salat will elapse, you can do tayammum. Now, in doing tayammum, as we have explained in one of our classes, it is not necessary to go and look for sand. Any surface of the earth, su'idan tayyiban, any surface of the earth, the interlock area, right? If there are dust on the rock, the ordinary floor, the road, anywhere, if there are dust on the wall, you can use the wall for your tayammum. And we have discussed tayammum is a very simple thing. No worries. So, tahur means the sand which is on the surface of the earth has been given to me as a means of purification. So if the Muslim doesn't find water to perform ablution, he can do tayammum. I also mentioned that if there is water, but the water is too small for ablution, you can do tayammum. The water is very small. It won't suffice for ablution. If there is water, but you are fasting, and that is the only water available, and you are fasting, drink that water and do tayammum. If there is water and the water is dirty, do tayammum. If there is water and you have injury on your body and you were told, don't use water, or you have this kind, is it chickenpox or this kind of, the infection, that they said, don't let water touch your body. Back in the days when we were young, our mothers would rub red oil on our body. You remember this kind of thing? So, if you are advised medically to not use water, then you do tayammum. Or, if there is cold, extreme cold, and you fear that if you use water to touch your body, you may become frozen, do tayammum. If you have janaba, and there is no water to bathe, and time for salat has arrived, do tayammum and go and pray. And whenever you get water and take your bath, you are not required to repeat that salat. We have discussed all of this in our previous classes. So, wa tahuran, masjidan wa tahuran, a place of salat and a means of purification. The Prophet continued by saying, "Fa ayyuma rajulin min ummati," anyone from among my ummah. The word used here is rajul, but the word rajul here doesn't mean man alone. It is general. Anyone, man or woman, old or young, adirakati us-salah, who is at a particular place and the time of salat has commenced, fali yusalli, let him pray anywhere he is. What this means is that if you are far away from the masjid, if there are no masjid around, pray anywhere. Sometimes non-Muslims are even shocked to see how simple Islam is. I remember being at Lagos Airport sometimes in December. It was time to pray. There is no masjid within the airport premises. What we did was to go inside the toilet, perform ablution, and about 6 of us just found a corner in the airport and we started praying. Pray wherever you find yourself, if there are no masjid around. Prophet said, one of the things Almighty Allah has given me as a special gift that I didn't give anyone was that He has given me the right to take war booties. Maganim is the plural of magnum. You can call it magnum or ganima. The plural is maganim or ganaim. Maganim, magnum, ganaim for ganima. And that is one of the beauties of Arabic language. Some words have different plural forms, but their singular forms can also take different forms. You remember, is it Antar ibn Shaddad al-Absi, one of the 7 most prominent poets in the pre-Islamic era? That in his mu'allaqah, where he was praising himself about how he fought the war, he said, وَمُدَجَّجٍ هَلْكُمَاتُ نِزَالَهُ لَا مُمُعِينٍ هَرَبًا وَلَا مُسْتَسْلِمٍ جَادَتْ لَهُ يَدِي بِعَادِلِ طَعْنَةٍ لَيْسَ الْكَرِيمُ فَشَكَكْتُ بِرُمُحِ الْعَصَمِ ثِيَابَهُ لَيْسَ الْكَرِيمُ عَلَى الْقَنَى بِمُحَرَّمٍ. So he got a particular place where he said, I am someone that everybody knows. Agrisal Waga. I can't remember the Sodru now, but he said, Agrisal Waga wa a'afu al-magnami. Wa a'afu inda al-magnami. Agrisal Waga. When it comes to fighting, I am a general at the forefront. Wa a'afu inda al-magnami. But when it comes to sharing war booties, I have Qana, I have Afaf. I'm not somebody that always fights for war booties. Allah mentioned in Surah Al-Fatih, 𝐀𝐒𝐃𝐀𝐂 مَغَانِمَ كَثِيرًا. Allah has promised you so many war booties. So Prophet said, before me, no prophet was allowed to fight his enemies and take the war booties. The war booties refer to number 1, the of war that the enemies have brought, but which they abandoned and ran away. War booty. Sword, spear, and so on and so forth. They are animals, horses, donkeys that they rode. War booties. In fact, prisoners of war, they are part of war booties. Some of them that were able to capture, that were unable to run away, we will share them too. Men and women. So, these are what is known as Maghani. So the Prophet said, Almighty Allah uhillat, He has made it halal for me to take the war booties. Walam tahilla li ahadin qabli. No prophet before me was allowed to take any booty of war. Now, when Prophet was alive, there were 2 different types of war booties. Ganima and fīkum. Ganima and what? Fīkum. Ganima is when the enemies face you and you win them. Whatever you are able to get is your ganima. Fīkum is when the enemies heard you are coming and they ran away and abandoned their properties. And then you read in the Quran, وَمَا أَفَاءَ اللَّهُ عَلَى رَسُولِهِ مِنْ أَهْلِ الْقُرَى فَلِلَّهِ فَإِنَّ أَبِي لِلَّهِ خُمُسَهُ. For faith, both are to be distributed among the Muslims. The fuqara, the masaki, those that went to the battle, according to the prophet's discretion. One day the Prophet was distributing war booties among his companions. A man named Dhul Khuwaisira at-Tamimi rose and said, "I'dil ya Muhammad fa innaka lam ta'dil." Be just, Muhammad, you are not being just. Which insult is greater than this? The Prophet looked at him and said, "Wayhak, what is wrong with you? Illam a'dil faman ya'dil." If I, Muhammad, am not just, who again is just? The man didn't stop at that. He said, "Ma hadhihi qismatun urida biha wajhullah." This distribution is so unfair that I am sure you are not doing this for the sake of Allah. Now, listen attentively. of the Sahaba, some people said it was Umar, some said it was not Umar. He said, Ya Rasulallah, إِذَنْ لِي أَضْرِبُ عُنُقَ هَذَا الْمُنَافِقِ. O Apostle of Allah, just give me permission to behead this hypocrite. And this hadith is an evidence that insulting the Prophet carries the death penalty. But the Prophet told Umar, because that man has a cordal hanging on him, he said, no, don't kill him. فَإِنَّهُ يَخْرُجُ مِنْ ضِئْضِ هَذَا الرَّجُلِ قَوْمٌ يَمْرُقُونَ مِنَ الدِّينِ كَمَا يَمْرُقُ السَّهَمُ مِنَ الرَّمِيَّةِ. Yeah, this is long. I've just shortened it. This man, let him go. He has a cordal on him that he shall give back to people. From his loins shall come a people who will leave Islam like an arrow pierces through its prey. Talking about the Khawarij, the fathers and progenitors and ancestors of the modern day Boko Haram and all other terrorist groups. The Sahabi said, one of the Sahaba said, on the day of Siffin, at the battle of, no, not the battle of Naharawan, not Siffin, at the battle of Naharawan, where Ali, fought the Khawarij. The Sahabi said, I saw 𝐀𝐂𝐃 among those that were killed. What is the point here? This man was insulting the Prophet because he was sharing the war booty. And Allah already told the Muslims, وَمَا آتَاكُمُ الرَّسُولُ فَخُذُوهُ. This ayah was revealed with, was revealed with reference to sharing war booties. Go and read the preceding verses. It was talking about sharing war booties. I'm trying to recollect the verse now. Muhajirin, al-fuqara wal-masakin, like that. He now said, وَمَا آتَاكُمُ الرَّسُولُ فَخُذُوهُ. Whatever the Prophet felt is your share. Take it. وَمَا نَهَاكُمْ عَنْهُ. Whatever he told you, don't touch this one. Don't touch it. So, this is what is called the Ghanim. He said, وَكَانَ النَّبِيُّ. The last thing Allah give me is that وَكَانَ النَّبِيُّ يُبْعَثُ إِلَىٰ قَوْمِهِ خَاصًّا. All the prophets before me were sent only to their people. And you will read in the Quran, Allah will say, Inna arsalna Nuhan ila qawmihi. We sent Nuhu to his people. Wa ila Thamuda akhahum Salihah. To Thamud we sent Salih. Wa ila Hadin akhahum. Wa ila Adin akhahum Huda. We sent Hud to his people of Ad. Wa ila Madyana akhahum Shu'aiba. To Madyan we sent Shu'aib. And so on and so forth. But to ila nasi kafa. Allah did not limit my message to my people alone. Allah sent me to the entirety of mankind. Now listen to this. He said mankind, Abi. The Prophet ﷺ was not sent to only mankind. He was sent to both mankind and the jinn. The message of Muhammad is not only to human beings, even to the jinnu. Allah mentioned this in the Quran. وَإِذْ صَرَفْنَا إِلَيْكَ نَفَرًا مِنَ الْجِنِّ يَسْتَمِعُونَ الْقُرْآنَ فَلَمَّا أَنْ حَضَرُوهُ قَالُوا أَنصِتُوا فَلَمَّا قُضِيَ وَلَّوْا إِلَىٰ قَوْمٍ مُنذِرِينَ. We sent a group of jinn to come and listen to your recitation of the Quran. And when they left there, they became messengers of the messenger of Allah. They were also doing da'wah for their own people. Allah says, قُلْ أُوحِيَ. And when Allah said this verse, he now used another verse to corroborate and affirm what happened. And that is قُلْ أُوحِيَ إِلَيَّ أَنَّهُ اسْتَمَعَ نَفَرٌ مِنَ الْجِنِّ فَقَالُوا إِنَّا سَمِعْنَا قُرْآنًا عَجَبًا. The Prophet ﷺ said, فَوَالَّذِي نَفْسِي بِيَدِي. I swear by Allah in whose hand is my soul. لَا يَسْمَعُ بِي أَحَدٌ يَهُودِيٌّ أَوْ نَصْرَانِيٌّ ثُمَّ لَا يُؤْمِنُ بِي إِلَّا دَخَلَ النَّارِ. No one will hear about my message, Jew or Christian, and he dies without accepting Islam, except that Allah will put him in hellfire. From the day Muhammad ﷺ was sent message till the day of judgment, every living soul, mankind and jinnu, in between this period is one of the ummah of Muhammad that must accept his da'wah. And that's why the ulama will say there are two types of ummah. I told you this before. Ummatul da'wah wa ummatul ijabah. Every human being and jinnu from that time to the day of judgment is ummatul da'wah. Muhammad was sent to us. Those that choose to accept his message are ummatul ijabah, those that accepted his message. So these 5 things, bismillah ta'ala, here we shall stop. These 5 things are just some of the divine gifts, the distinctive features and qualities of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. No human being before him ever possessed any of it. Not even the Prophet of Allah. After him, no human being possesses them. No one. It has been given to him, it has been signed, sealed and delivered, and it is exclusive to him sallallahu alaihi wasallam. There are several others. When the ulama talk about Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, they mention certain things that will leave you in awe and admiration of him sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Anas bin Malik said, sometimes Prophet ﷺ, whenever he was coming, I will hide by the wall and he will not see me. Because it was not in his tradition to be looking here and there. He faces wherever he's going. But do you know one thing? He sees what is happening behind his back. Now, this statement that I have just made is contentious. The ulama contended it, and the reason is this. One day he was on salat. Somebody behind him did something, and after salat he said, "Why did you do this?" And the man was shocked. And he said, "Don't you know that even while leading you in salat, I am shown what you are doing behind me?" Sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So some of the ulama said, this is only limited to salat. Some of them said, no, it's not limited to salat. The Prophet sees what is happening behind him even when he's going. And so he cannot attack him from the back. He cannot attack him from the back. So we must, as Muslims, celebrate the Prophet ﷺ. We must elevate his status as Almighty Allah has elevated it. We must praise his name. We must sing his praise at all times. We must let the non-Muslims know that Muhammad ﷺ is a red line, is a transformer. Don't cross that line. Respect him for us as we have respected him. We respect him even beyond our respect for our parents. Because there is no one you are permitted to follow blindly but Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. What Allah says, "Man yuti'i rasula faqad ata." Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu istajibu lillahi wa lirrasul idha da'akum lima yuhyikum. Laysa, is it? Is it laysa du'a an-nabiy bainakum ka du'a ba'dikum ba'da? La taj'alu du'a ar-rasuli the Prophet called to you. It's not like you calling each other. Dua is when he calls you. To the extent that even if you are on salat, you must come and answer him. He is as great as that. So respect him as we respect him. And you know, Muslims, we hardly commit blasphemy. Because la nufariqu baina ahadin min rusuli. So a Muslim cannot even say he is angry and say Isa and say some bad things about him. Abadan. Wallahi, if you say it, you will lose your iman immediately. If you insult Prophet Isa alayhi salam, you lose your iman. Because believing in all the Prophet is part of our iman, the articles of faith. So, but as Muslims, let us maintain cool-headedness. Let us be patient. Let us be law-abiding. We must not say because somebody has insulted the Prophet, we now take laws into our hands and start causing troubles. We are a law-abiding citizen. Islam teaches us to maintain peace at all times. Do we understand? So what happened in that school should not happen anywhere. That we must continue to educate our non-Muslim friends and colleagues that Muhammad is a red line. Don't cross it. Just leave it for us like that. 𝐀𝐒𝐃 ibn Zuhair ibn Abi Salama insulted Prophet ﷺ. The Prophet told the companions, "Man li bi 𝐀𝐒𝐃 ibn Zuhair fa innahu qad aadha Allah wa rasulahu." Who will take care of 𝐀𝐒𝐃 ibn Zuhair for me? Taking care means who will execute him. When 𝐀𝐒𝐃 had, he ran and hide under the darkness of the night to come and meet the Prophet ﷺ. All of a sudden he appeared before him. And that is the popular consider Banat Su'ad Baqalib al-Yawm Matibul Mutayyim al-Ithraha and he continued to Umbitu anna Rasulullah wa'adani. I have been informed that Islam has threatened my life, that I'm a dead man walking. That wal'afu inda Rasulillahi ma'mur. What we expect from Islam is that he's a man that is utmost forgiving. He continued to praise him until he said, "Inna Rasula la nurun yustadahu bihi muhannadun min suyufillahi maslul." The Prophet is a light. People get illuminated by his light. Muhannad min suyufillah. Among all the swords of Allah, Muhammad is muhannadun. Do you know muhannad? You know Muhammad? Back in days in Jahiliyyah, the best swords came from India. They were the best in sword. The same way that the best clothes came from Yemen. And that's why you read some poems like Yamani Yatun, a Yemeni cloth. The best attire came from Yemen. So when you see Muhammadun in your Arabic literature, it is referring to the best. So he said Muhammad is Muhammadun min suyufillahi maslulu. Among all the swords of Allah that have been moved from, the shield, Muhammad is the best. He is Muhammad, the original one. It is said that the Prophet was so much happy with his praise that he removed his al-kimba and gave it to him as a sign of forgiveness. But this is when he was alive. So long as he was alive, he can forgive anyone. But now that he is dead, it's our responsibility to protect his honor. We will not allow anyone to insult him. So may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant us understanding. The first question is, Assalamu alaikum. Is it allowed to keep a dead human being in the laboratory for practical? Very good question. The basis in Islam is that Baniyu Adam or Ibnu Adam or al-Insan Mukarramun Hayyan wa Maytan. Every human being is a dignified and honored being, whether dead or alive. And that is why in the hadith of our mother Aisha radiallahu ta'ala anha, she said, Rasulullah said, "Kasru azmi limayyiti ka kasri hayya." Breaking the bone of the dead person is like breaking the bone of the living person. It means that if you break the bone of the dead and you are caught by the state, your own bone would also be broken. Because if you break the bone of the living, your bone will be broken. And that is why when someone dies, we are instructed to bury the person. However, there are exceptions. In case of learning to advance medicine, biomedicine, and so on and so forth, Islam permits that we can use certain corpses for teaching our students in the medical sciences their course. What are those corpses that can be used? Number one, the corpse of a criminal who was executed for criminal actions. For instance, in Islam, these bandits that you are seeing, armed robbers, if they are caught Allah says in the Quran, إِنَّمَا جَزَاءُ الَّذِينَ يُحَارِبُونَ اللَّهَ وَرَسُولَهُ وَيَسْعَوْنَ فِي الْأَرْضِ فَسَادًا أَنْ يُقَتَّلُوا أَوْ يُصَلَّبُوا أَوْ تُقَطَّعَ أَيْدِيهِمْ وَأَرْجُلُهُم مِّنْ خِلَافٍ أَوْ يُنفَوْا مِنَ الْأَرْضِ. They are to be killed or crucified or have their names cut from opposite sides or sent away or imprisoned for life. The ulama said, if an armed robber uses a weapon to attack someone and he kills that person and takes away the person's money, the judgment is that he will be killed for killing and his corpse shall be crucified for 1 day or 3 days in a public space for people to see. Public place. And himself, because what most of the ulama say is that he should be crucified for 1 day or 3 days and he should be killed after that. Imam Shafi'i rahimahullah ta'ala said, I detest that even the criminal, he is not allowed to go and observe salat at the time of salat. Yes, he said, because if you crucify him alive, what about the time of salat? Salat is compulsory, so he should be killed first before he is crucified. If he killed but did not cut away the person's money, he should be killed. If he cut away money and did not kill, his hand and his right hand and his left leg be cut from opposite side. If he only scares the person, hey, with weapon, I'll kill you, and then run away. If he is caught, he should be banished. Allah said, part of banishment is that he should be imprisoned, because when you imprison him, it's like you have taken him away from the world. In this our time now, where do you want to banish somebody to? To Lagos? It's like a so we can use their for practical. You can keep in the mortuary. The corpse whose owner is not known and whose religion is not known. If he is known to be a Muslim, you must go and bury him. You must go and bury him. Asri'u bil janaza. Hadith sallallahu. You must bury him. But if you don't even know whether if there's a need for you to use it as practical, you can use it. So you can keep such in the laboratory. Wallahu ta'ala alam. Second question. Is there anything wrong if the place of the imam is raised above that of the followers? The best is for it to be flat like this. This is the best. The imam should not stand on a higher place than the followers. But if he is going to stand on a higher place than the followers, Al-Imam Malik rahimahullah and other scholars said it should not be more than this. This should be more than this. But the best is for it to be flat. But if it's going to be higher, it should not be more than this. Not that the imam will not be standing on something like this. And that's how you see our babas. May Allah have his mercy on them. They know the figure of Maliki inside out. Go and look at all those old masjid. You will never see where the imam stands on a place that is higher than this. They measure it because they read it in the books. Like this. It will not be higher. Go and check. It will not be higher than this. Because they know that's the madhab of Imam Malik. What happens to a person who insulted but was never aware of the implication? Will he be punished? This is why we said, do not take the laws into your hand. Allow the judge to be the one to pass judgment. Do you know that even while the prophet was alive, some people did not know him? Do you know? Some people did not know he was the prophet. A man once came and said, 𝐀𝐒𝐃𝐀𝐂 Muhammad. Who among you is Muhammad? A villager. You know villager, the way they behave now. You know villager. He said, 𝐀𝐒𝐃𝐀𝐂 Muhammad. Who among you is Muhammad? Do you know why he didn't know? The prophet does not used to wear a cloth different from that of the Sahaba. He does not sit on a higher place than them. He sits among them. you will never know who is Muhammad from who is Abu Bakr and Umar. So the man didn't know. One day he was passing by, he saw a woman who was sitting beside a grave and she was crying. And he moved closer to her and said, Isbiri wa tahammali, or kamakot, be patient and be persevere. Accept Allah's qadar. The woman said, Ilayka anni, get out, get away from me. Fa innaka lam tusab bimithli ma asabani. What do you know? What happened to me has never happened to you before. She was living in Medina with him. She didn't know he was Muhammad. Maybe out of the sadness, one of the Sahaba said, do you know this man? He said, that is Muhammad. The woman ran after him. Go and read the hadith of As-Saburu in the Sadamatil Ula. That is the siyak of that hadith. So why am I saying this? If there were people that live in his era that didn't know him, if some of you, even here now, believe that we go to Mecca to go and stone the devil, how many of you believe we stone the devil? Some of you believe we go and stone. I saw a man who went with catapult to Hajj because in his mind he wanted to stone the devil. He was using catapult. One lawyer, I saw the video of a man. The man will go back to like the door and will not take a run. He will go back again because in his mind he is stoning the devil. It is not devil, it is just stones. Not devil. There are non-Muslims that believe we go to Kaaba to go and worship Kaaba as if Almighty Allah lives inside Kaaba. Why am I saying this? It is possible for a Christian to not know the God of Prophet. He doesn't know. There are places here in Nigeria where they have never had Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah before in their life. Go to Southeast and even some part of South. No single mosque. Some Muslim couples were posted there in villages in Abia, Anambra. No single, they have never seen Muslim before. When those couples were praying, the community people gathered around them were looking at what the hell is this? They have never had Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah before in their lives. Saying that person will now know that somebody is Muhammad. So that is why we must let the judicial procedure takes its course. It is possible that this person doesn't know. The judge may say, oh, okay, go and pay fine, for example, or punish him mildly, not kill him, because he doesn't. So Allah Ta'ala. And you see, we're saying now, because non-Muslims are involved, do you know that there are extreme Sufis that also blaspheme? Do you know? One of them, I think it's in a book known as Al-Hikmah, one of the major books in Tijaniya. He said, one of the sheikhs of Sufia said, خُذُنَا بَحَرًا وَقَفَ الْأَنْبِيَاءُ عِنْدَ سَاحِلِهِ. We swim in oceans that prophets of Allah could not enter. They stood at the river bank. Is this not blasphemy? So we must let the law take its course. If he doesn't know, the judge has the discretion to let him go or give him a mild punishment. In a case where you came across a lake or river that has color other than the natural color of water, can you use it for washing? Yes, if the color of the water is as a result of the type of soil where the water came from. These issues are there. If a land is muddy, the water is likely to have mud color. The land will have clay. In fact, some water has taste, and you can still use it for ablution, because the taste is the natural taste of where the water came from. So Allah Ta'ala. Or some water may even have smell, odor, and it's permissible for ablution, because the odor is not a secondary thing, it's primary. It is as a result of the type of land. In a situation where husband and wife have cohabitation, the person asking this question, are you married? I usually don't answer questions about marriage and cohabitation unless you are married. So when you are married and you have cohabitation, maybe you should come and ask your question. Someone say, I want to know why.
Why do you want to know? So, sexual intercourse. Then after they finish from it, one of them died. Hey, may Allah forgive him. He or she died in active service. May Allah forgive him or her. So the question is, which bath? Okay, the bath is okay. You see, one thing about Islam is its perfection. Almighty Allah has commanded us to take just one type of bath. We talked about this when we were discussing janaba. If somebody has intercourse now with his spouse, the same type of bath he will take is what a non-Muslim will take if he accepts Islam and wishes to bath. It's not compulsory, I told you before. It is the same type of bath that a woman will take after completion of her menstrual cycle. The same type of bath she will take after completion of her postpartum bleeding. Same type of bath when a Muslim dies. Because Islam wants the Muslim to go into his grave pure, clean of any impurity. So in case the person has janaba, there is no need to bathe him two different janabas. It is just that singular one that will be bathed. One of the Sahaba named Hanzalatu bin Abi Amir. Hanzala bin Abi Amir. He got married on the eve of the Battle of Uhud. And he had intercourse with his wife. The following morning, he had intercourse with his wife. It was upon the intercourse that he had hayya ala al-jihad. This man stood up immediately from his wife, took his sword, mounted his horse, and went out for jihad. If it were you, we will do honeymoon. Wallahi, if the Prophet were to come back today, many of you will not follow him. May Allah not allow not. I told people, we are lucky we are not among the Sahaba. Maybe we would have been one Abu Jahl or Walid ibn Mughira. Because if you can reject Sunnah today, how would you be then? So this man fought at the battle, he was killed. And you know the Sharia is that people killed at the battlefield are not to be bathed. In fact, Muslim will just go and bury them like that. In their clothes, with the blood, they will be raised on the day of judgment with fragrance and light. The Prophet told the Sahaba, Inna sahibakum tugassiluhu al-malaika. You see Hanzala bin Abi Amir, the angels are washing his corpse. So they were shocked. Why would they wash his corpse? He said, go and ask the wife. The wife said, it is true. We're having intercourse when he had hayya al-jihad, so he had janaba on him. So even though he was not supposed to be bathed because he died a shahidi, the angels came to bathe the janaba off him. And he is popularly known today in Islamic literature as Gisilul Malaika. Gisilul Malaika, the man whom the angels bathed. And that itself is a sign that he is in Jannah already. For the angels to come and bathe him. And so somebody asked, on the issue of blasphemy, those that killed the girl for insulting the Prophet ﷺ, what will be their reward from Allah? They are criminals. And their reward from Allah is that they have taken a soul unjustly. And on the day of judgment, they will tell Almighty Allah, بِأَيِّ ذَنْبٍ قُتِلَتْ. They will be asked. The Prophet ﷺ said, أَوَّلُ مَا يُقُضَى فِيهِ يَوْمَ الْقِيَامَةِ الدِّمَاءِ. The first thing Almighty Allah will judge on the day of judgment is matters of blood. Wallahi, whatever you do in this world, don't let the life of another person be lost through you. Tame your anger. Taking a soul, even if it's a kafira, only the judge can determine that this girl is guilty and should be killed. Do you know that some people even had her saying the wrong thing? Some people, most people, what was translated for most people was different from what she said. What most people said they had was she said, Manzo Allah bin Burauba. But she didn't say that. What she said was, Anzo ana min Burauba. Anzo ana min Burauba. Not Manzo Allah bin Burauba. But what was said is that also pay a baba, maybe could disobey. she said, Anzo ana mimborauba, you are doing rubbish with me. So most people became angry because when you bet Baba, she didn't say that. So we must be very careful. On the day of judgment, they will tell Almighty Allah why they took, why they took law into their hands. Now the funniest thing is, if you look at those that killed that girl, these are the category of people you find. We taker, shisha smoker, somebody that takes alcohol, fornicator, adulterer, extreme Sufi that believe that Shehu is better than the Prophet, Shia that believe that the Sahaba are idiots. Even these people, many of them deserve to be killed in a Sharia compliant society. Some of them are tariqu, so they don't even pray. They don't pray. But this is not jihad. This is crime. Allah Ta'ala alam. So finally, is it permissible to stay longer in tashahud after the imam has terminated the salat? Yes, if you have not completed the tashahud, you can stay longer than the imam. It is not, once the imam says salam alaikum, that is shikena. The imam has finished, is going. So if you have not finished your tashahud, finish it. You have some prayers to do it, and then you make taslim. The one you cannot stay longer is if it is the first tashahud. You must follow the imam because of innama ju'ila al-imamu li'tamma bihi. But there is no part of that hadith that says fa iza sallama fasallimu. He didn't say that. He didn't know. He said, imam, you have finished all. Shikena tafika. I have not finished yet. So Allah Ta'ala alam. Wa sallallahu ala nabiyyina Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam.